Hello and welcome to the MVP show. Today we're chatting with Kylie Kiser. She's one of the new MVPs we have in the program. So good to have her in the program and to learn like her perspective. She does a lot with user groups and speaking and, just has some amazing stories and experiences that she brings to the game. So really enjoyed this session with her. Full show notes for this episode, go to nz365guy.com/159. Now let's get on with the show. Hey Kylie, welcome to the MVP show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So great to have you on the show. How long have you been an MVP now?
Now just around 6 months. So I was awarded July 1st, Canada Day of this year. Very exciting.
Awesome. And tell us a bit about where you're from. What part of the world do you hail from? And kind of what do you do for entertainment in that part of the world? And anything about how our listeners might feel like, I know Kylie.
Sure. So I actually grew up in Canada, right on the border in Windsor, Ontario, near Detroit, Michigan. But now I live in Washington, D.C., and my sister actually lives out in Seattle, Washington. So my mother likes to say she has 2 daughters in Washington, just not the same Washington. But here in Washington, D.C., I do a lot with the user group community. So you may have seen my Pink Monkey hashtag for hashtag CRMUGDC, kind of out and about, doing lots of meetings for that. And involved with some of the other MVPs in this area, like Aiden Cascella and Mike Ox. So lots of fun things going on here. And then personally, for fun, we like to, just do crazy things like go to the movies and a lot of eating and those types of things.
So you're a foodie?
I mean, I guess so. I don't know if we're not gastro pub foodies. We're just kind of regular pizza foodies. Something fun we did a couple weeks ago is we had a pizza crawl. So there were 4 of us and we each picked a pizza place and we went to all 4 of them and got a pizza and tried it everywhere and then had little scorecards to rate it and pick what was the best. And
did you video it?
No, we didn't video it, but we did Instagram it and take lots of pictures. And I'm actually working on a top secret, but not really top secret because now I'm saying it, working on a top secret Power Platform thing related to said pizza event. So be on the lookout for more to come.
Very cool. How did the Pink Monkey come about?
Yeah, so one year I was getting ready to go to User Group Summit. I believe it was the year it was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I decided I wanted to be not Phoenix, Arizona. Where were we? Reno. And I was getting ready I really wanted to promote my chapter. So I was like, I just need a gimmick or something that I can use, that I can take pictures of and use to promote the chapter. And I literally went wandering around my apartment looking for something bright colored that would stand out and was cute that I could use. And I found this monkey, he was just from a carnival, something like that. And I think people really caught on, thought it was fun. And I kind of started bringing him to more things. And so now he's kind of become my mascot. He's like my logo on my website and all of that stuff. He's definitely starting to show his quality in that he was from a carnival, but he is well loved and he's going to stick around. So it's been kind of fun.
Do you have mascots? Do you have Pink Monkey stickers?
I do. I have stickers, and I had previously, prior to the monkey, I had wristbands for the chapter that said hashtag CRMUGDC. So I still have some of those lying around, but transitioning to new stickers with the monkey. So yeah, make sure people connect with me and get one at the next event.
I love it. So what's your journey been with Microsoft Business Applications? Kind of what area has kind of been your focus over the past years?
Sure. So I started out in CRM 4.0, and I think it's kind of funny you hear so many people in our industry that kind of fell into it, and that's very true for me. I was, my first job out of college, I was applying. They told me, hey, we're going to put you on the CRM team. I said, okay, that's great. And I went home and just did a search like, what is CRM? Because I had no idea what I was getting into. And I was just kind of in a project management support role at the time and just started learning everything to do with CRM. And that was back when they had the training videos with the computer voice walking you through the training material. And I think in that role, as it was kind of a support role, I did have a lot of time for training and learning the tool, and was involved there in our large implementation. We were rolling it, upgrading to 2011. And so I was very involved in that and involved in a lot of the training for all the users for that. And just really gave me time to dive in and learn the tool and learn all these skills that are kind of what made me marketable for my next role, which was just coming in as a CRM specialist at a financial firm. So this was really great to kind of, I came in there as their first dedicated CRM resource, and then we kind of grew the team. And there we had a lot of complex workflows and things like that, which really became my specialty, kind of decoding what was going on with these and how can we make these better? How can we continue to integrate with these? And all of that fun stuff. So a lot of my expertise was with workflows. And so now I'm kind of at that point where I'm realizing, well, we're transitioning to flow. So what does that mean? And how do I learn flow? And so I'm just kind of starting to get into the Power Platform, figuring out more of those things and figuring out how to transition kind of my core Dynamics 365 skills into more CDS Power Platform skills.
Gotcha.
So
So,
yeah,
so
definitely an
you,
exciting time.
yeah. So you're a master though at the traditional workflow engine, business rules, that type of thing.
I guess so.
Yeah. Awesome. Tell me about if you were to define your kind of role in our industry, and we see roles kind of like citizen developer, we see architect, we see functional consultant, developer. Where do you feel you sit kind of in that spectrum for the various companies you've worked for?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, I think, because you're calling it out exactly, because we have these titles, but then every company kind of describes them a little bit differently and expects a different set of skills for them. And I think in my last role, I was kind of called a program manager, but I was doing a lot of the job of a functional consultant as well as the job of a product owner. And now I'm kind of officially a product owner, but still you are doing a little bit of everything on the side, right? So what's really interesting being in this product owner role is it's combining a lot of business knowledge along with your functional knowledge, and then you're kind of doing some of the solutions. But what's interesting in my current role is we also have a solution architect, so we're kind of working with them, and so we're as well as kind of guiding the team and the developers. So it's kind of a little bit of everything right now. I think where I kind of see my expertise would be somewhere on the functional consultant side, I guess. But also, like we've said, is I think different organizations determine how much technical knowledge should be for different roles. And I think for me, I did kind of have a technical background. I studied computer science, but I've never kind of coded in one of my positions. And so I think a lot of organizations feel development is a necessity for different consulting roles or different things. But I think the benefit I have, I guess, is that I have some of that technical background and that technical knowledge and the ability to understand these technical things while probably approaching it from a low code, no code perspective first and foremost, because I want to see what I can do myself. I don't want to have to involve a developer or somebody if I don't have to. Not that I don't like them, but I want to see how much I can get done on my own.
Totally, right? As in, there's less, as a rule, there's less debt. We hear this term technical debt when code's involved, because someone needs to maintain that over time. And if you can do it without code, it's generally going to have less requirement in that respect.
Right, exactly.
Tell me about the different type of industries you've worked in. Have you been focused on one, or what's the different sectors that you've worked across?
Sure, sure. So my first job actually was in education. I was working at a university. And so that was really interesting because we were managing the front end system that our call center was using, but it still wasn't the system of record for a lot of student data. So we were dealing with, integrations of that data. But it was really exciting to see people who had formerly been working, searching for database tables, trying to find, you know, looking through a very not user friendly interface and transitioning them over to CRM and just being able to give them such an easier experience and just so much data at their fingertips and so much sharing across teams, which was really exciting. And then my role prior to this was after that one, prior to my current role, was at a financial services firm where we're working with financial planners. So a financial planner would be using CRM kind of as their hub for all of their communications and everything with clients. What was really interesting here is that our CRM system or our Dynamics 365 system was the system of record for all of that client data. So there was a very high level of security, high level of compliance, but also we had to focus on a high level of user adoption because if they weren't using it, then we're out of compliance. So it was really interesting. And we were also doing some really cool stuff there using workflows to automate the communication between the kind of front office financial planners and the back office operations team, which was something I hadn't really seen before. So, you'd submit kind of a record that would create different tasks in queues and moving that around and keeping everybody updated. So that was really cool. And then in my current role, we're also financial services, but kind of the back end side of that, the record keeping side of that. So it's interesting to see kind of being in a similar industry, but how it can be approached so differently. And what's interesting here is the organization is still not relatively new to CRM, but different groups in the organization are not on CRM yet, or so we're bringing on new groups, and we're also migrating groups from on-premise to online. So we have, several different environments, several different tenants, and lots of interesting things going on in each place. So it's been really interesting to see kind of that type of complex implementation and kind of figure out where everything is in all those different places, if that makes sense.
So tell me, you're obviously very active in the user group community there. What's been if someone was asking you for advice on starting a new user group from scratch, and let's say they're not doing it in America, they're doing it in another country. So I'll give you that context on it. What kind of advice would you give them from, I know nothing, I need help, how do I get started?
I think that's a great question. And I've had definitely other people ask me that because I think now I've been being a chapter leader for 4 or 5 years now. And I love it. It's great. And I think the most important advice is to get help and to ask for help. And the way I've found is most effective to do that is by starting with small pieces, right? Instead of saying, hey, I'm looking for people to be on my chapter team, is kind of doing stuff like, hey, I just need somebody to like tweet a few times during the meeting. Or can someone volunteer to give a 5-minute tip or a 5-minute trick? And then once I've captured them doing that little thing, then I can slowly pull them into doing bigger things. I also don't like to give people choices. So as soon as someone says, I might be interested in speaking, I say, okay, I've scheduled you. You're speaking at the meeting on this date at this time, and here's when I need your slides. And I've invited you to a meeting to remind you, right? So once I've captured them, they cannot escape anymore. And I think the other thing is, of course, promotion, right? There's so many people we all know. Like we were talking about before the call, like we're this global community, and it's so easy to quickly hop on Twitter, hop on LinkedIn, and be able to connect with people in your area who might be interested in the meeting, or other people around the world who can give you some of those tips and tricks to help you along. So,
I like it.
Yeah.
So what about when you look at promotion, how do you go about effectively promoting the user group chapter as a whole, but then individual events as well?
Yeah, I think it's difficult, but it goes back to like having a team too. So if you can get as many people as you can get promoting this event is the best, right? Because then you're capturing all those different spheres of influence. I think I also like to use multiple methods. So, I'll schedule my tweets and my LinkedIn posts, but then I'll also put it on my blog, and then also post it on the user group forum. So just try and get people from multiple avenues like that. And I think something that we've also started to do more of in the Washington, D.C. area is get to know the other chapter leaders. So for a while, we've been working with the other, we have Washington, D.C., Reston, Virginia, and Richmond, Virginia, all that are D365/CRMUG chapters. And so we've been working together for a while so that we can kind of cross promote each other's meetings and also make sure our meetings are not conflicting. And we're also working to get more involved with the other local user groups as well. So just this past meeting, one of our chapter leaders spoke at the Power BI meeting, and they had that the night before and then invited all the Power BI people to come to the D365 meeting in the morning. So we're just trying to find ways to cross promote that way. I think as the platform continues to grow, but also it's growing, but it's merging together, and the blurry lines between tools are getting blurrier. so yeah, so we're just trying to figure out how does everything fit together, and how can we all promote each other and be bringing the best content for the area. And I think it's just remembering too that it seems like we're getting different audiences at different events. So I've also been involved in some of the D365 Saturday events or the upcoming 365 Power Up in Philly in January. And we see a lot of times people at those events don't necessarily know that there are the user group events, and kind of the opposite is true as well. So we're just trying to make sure we cross promote at both places and make sure, we all can share the love and get more attendees.
That's so good. That's so good. So I also noticed you do a lot of public speaking, so speaking at conferences on a range of topics. I'm interested in the talks that you do, probably around two key areas: change management and user adoption. What are kind of themes and how do you land your messaging on those two areas?
Yeah, good question. So I think change management was a really big item especially in my former role. And so, as I mentioned, when I started there, I was the first dedicated CRM resource. So, week one, I started, and Thursday rolls around and they said, okay, we're having a release tonight. Are you getting online? And I was like, what are you talking about? My old firm had a testing team, and I just moved here. My internet's not set up, and then this kind of started a journey of me taking ownership of that process and figuring out, okay, well, first of all, we need a process. We can't be just willy-nilly doing these changes and, building the solution before we do the import. And a lot of that was kind of deciding what's the process that works for us and how can we enforce it with the business. And so there was definitely this kind of long period of adjustment, right? Of saying, just because you asked today doesn't mean we can do it today, and kind of adjusting to what the schedule is. And a lot of that too was just being open and transparent with that communication and getting people to buy into the benefits of doing it this way. And after we kind of got that under control, then we moved into this idea of kind of a steering committee where let's get people together to make sure we know what's happening on both sides. Because as I mentioned, we kind of had a front office and a back office, and they didn't always communicate their requests to each other. So we'd have a case where we'd roll something out for one side of the business and it could impact the other side of the business unintentionally, right? So we started kind of having these monthly, and then I think we moved them to quarterly, whatever works for your business, having these meetings where we're like, okay, these are our priorities and what we're working on. What's missing? What's wrong? Let's talk about it. And this really helped to build that buy-in for what we're working on, and also get to a point where we could better prioritize and just have better transparency. And this also gave us a good group of people to be our core group for communicating change, making sure they know what's coming, they know how to get their teams ready, and all these sorts of things, which was really important. And then, of course, that brings up the other really important thing for both change management and user adoption, which is, of course, your super users. And I think this was something that was really valuable for us because you need somebody who's able to capture the needs from the business in the language the business speaks, right? And able to translate them back to the team and help us prioritize. But especially when you're doing kind of larger updates, you really need somebody who can help you with that training and help you with issues. And we actually even had one super user who, they were just a regular person, if we can say that, who, as we were doing an upgrade at this point, I think it was from 2011 to 2016, so a pretty big upgrade for the firm, and they were able to kind of have a growth opportunity to lead some of those training classes. So I think it was a great opportunity for them, but also it's great for the people in those classes to see, like, hey, she sits next to me and she's leading these classes, so I can learn too. And I think that was something that was really beneficial for us. And just helps to give you that other perspective, so you know what you're up against, right?
Exactly. So good, so good. Tell me, you're deciding to go to speak at an event. Step me through what's the process of you coming up with the idea to how do you, go about threshing that idea out? How do you get it into a PowerPoint video, whatever type of format, technology, demo, whatever you use? Step me through, because it'll be interesting. I think people would find it interesting to hear kind of the techniques you use to prepare for a speaking at a conference.
Sure. And I think it's a little bit different for every presenter, right? And it's also a hard thing to do. And I think it's something that I definitely struggle with. So if others are struggling, don't lose heart. I think what's really been motivating for me, especially when I think about User Group Summit, is there's always users at the same place as you. I think when I first was nervous before I started speaking, I was like, no one wants to hear what I have to say. And then I kind of looked at the content and I was like, okay, there's all this advanced content and there was all this kind of end user content. But I felt we were missing that in the middle, beginner to intermediate, like how do you get started writing your first workflow? And so a lot of the initial sessions I did were around that, and just, okay, this is what I learned. This is how I learned about workflows. This is what need to know when getting started as an admin. And so those are sessions that I've offered the last several years. I co-present with Patrick Wright from the Richmond chapter. And it's something that every year we kind of look at the schedule and we're like, this is still a gap. I think people would still come to these sessions. And so we kind of revamp them, edit the content a little bit to fit, the new changes, and then handle it that way. And then additionally, usually throughout the year, as I'm just having conversations with other people, we're like, hey, this could be an interesting idea. And then we kind of morph it into a session. So a lot of it is, I think, a mindset, like keeping your mind open for different things that you might want to do or other people might be interested in. And I think remembering that everything you're doing, someone else is probably doing something similar or trying to do something similar and struggling with it, So I think there's something we can learn from all of that. And I've seen there's so much value in just sharing your experience, even if it's not technical, it's not fancy, just sharing what you've done and starting somewhere is really valuable. So
Yeah. I like it. This is so good. Good learning for me. I love it. Okay, it's time to move on now to get some quick fire questions to wrap up with. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I'm kind of nervous.
Okay, these are random. Okay, here's the first one. Would you rather questions?
I'm not sure. We're going to find out.
Would you rather win a Grammy or an Oscar, and why?
Probably a Grammy, because I would love to be like a powerhouse singer lady. But
Nice.
That's not going to happen.
Nice. If you could visit any place in the world, where would it be and why?
I'm not just saying this because of you, but I would like to go to Australia and New Zealand. I like surfing. I pretend that I am a rock star surfer, but I'm not. But I would love to go to Australia and just surf all around everywhere. It would be lovely.
Nice. It is an awesome country for that. What's the first music you ever bought, or should I say, or downloaded?
I did buy a CD, and it's embarrassing. It was a religious Christian group called Point of Grace, and I remember listening to it with a friend, and I was like, I have to buy this CD. Now, when I listen to it, it's not exactly my jam anymore, but still beautiful harmonies. Still have it on my phone, probably.
Nice. What's the best gift you've ever received?
Best gift I've ever received. Oh, that's so hard. Last year for Christmas, I got a tea advent calendar. That was pretty fun. I like tea.
You had to boil the tea, to make each one?
Yeah, but
Wow.
there was 30, I guess not 30, 25 different ones, which was really
So that's
exciting.
25 cups of tea.
Exactly.
Wow, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, I might still have a few of the flavors left I haven't tried. I just saw one of them lying around somewhere this morning. So
Nice. My wife wants us to do a gin, as in create one, as in produce it as a product, a gin advent calendar.
Oh,
25
fun.
gins, different gin a day type thing.
I have seen a beer advent calendar. I saw it at the store, and I was like, I cannot lift that into my cart, so it will be staying on the shelf.
Nice. If you could have one fictional character as your friend, who would you choose and why?
So many hard questions. This is exactly why I was nervous. I'm going to say Paddington Bear because he's adorable and he makes marmalade sandwiches. So that's kind of fun. Or Kronk from Emperor's New Groove with his spinach puffs. I'd like to have him around.
I love it. Here's your final one. When you die, dun dun dun, what do you want to be remembered for?
I hope I'll just be remembered for being kind and nice. I feel like so often we're rushed in this world and we just don't take the time to be nice to people anymore. So, I think it's the little things like that. I don't need to be remembered for my Grammy award that I got, but, just if people remember me in a nice way, that would be good. That's success, right?
It's great. Kylie, it's been great to have you on the show. If people want to kind of stay in touch or follow what you're doing, are you on Twitter, LinkedIn? Give them the deets so they can find you.
For sure. Yes. Connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm Kylie Kiser, KYLIEKISER. And I also have a blog at kyliekiser.com. You'll know it when you see the pink monkey, who you can also find at #CRMUGDC. So connect with me and I'll look forward to it.
Hey, thanks for listening again. If you've any questions about our episodes or a guest, feel free, get in touch with me. LinkedIn Messenger, private message me is the best way to get hold of me. If anything kind of resonates, you want to talk further. Full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/159. See you next Thursday.